And we're live on a pirate broadcast, and we have a special guest, Chaz Horn. And we want to talk about what the pirate broadcast is all about. Is it about interesting people doing interesting things? And Chaz is no different because he brings to the table, a little bit of B&B sales and, marketing strategy and a little bit of technique. And we were just talking before the show about how if you can't do something, you just have to figure out another way to get it done. Right, Chaz?
Yes, sirree.
So welcome to the show and happy Friday. How you doing?
Thank you. Fist bump. Boom. Let's get that.
You got it.
Say slap 5, but it would be this way. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Awesome to be here, Russ. I really appreciate you having. I've seen the show, and I'm a little envious because I don't have LinkedIn Live yet. I've applied for it, and so
keep applying for it. Just keep applying.
I'm excited. You talk about problems, obstacles, and if the problem is what we focus on,
you'll always have problems.
The failure, it becomes enormous.
Yeah.
If we focus on the solution, the problem becomes small, and we're able to look at the solution, and there's many opportunities. Can I tell you a quick story?
Tell me a quick story, Chaz.
Okay, so
I'm going to check in. I'm going to check in on the guests here and see what's going on, and say hi to a few people while you're telling this story.
Okay, so I got locked. My dog is afraid of thunder, and so she has to go outside to use to go to the bathroom before she goes to sleep. And when it's thunder, she doesn't, and she will go around hide behind the grill on the deck so I can't see her, and then walk back in a couple of minutes later. Well, I want to make sure she goes out, and so it was raining, storming, and so I went out the deck, opened the sliding glass door, and then shut it behind me because it was raining pretty hard. I was in my briefs.
Uh-huh.
Where are you going with this, Chaz?
You're out in the country. You're out in the country.
And so the door slid, and there's a thing that automatically locks into place.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, oh, here I'm in my briefs. It's 2:30 in the morning. And I'm like, what am I going to do? Now, it's easy for me to freak out because that's how I normally have done most of my life. But I've learned a lot over the last several years. I was like, okay, just calm down. Let's look for things. All the doors are locked. I don't want to go to the neighbors right now. That wouldn't be a pretty sight. And so I started thinking about, okay, let's look at the door. It was open about this much, a little crack. I had my barbecue grill scraper there. And so I just thought, you know what? Let me just jimmy it. And within 5 minutes, I was in the house. If I would have gotten freaked out about this thing, it would have been enormous. And I probably would have broken a window. I was not going to go to my neighbors.
Right.
That little funny story of me in the rain in my briefs is how life is, because we have problems. And when we focus on the problem, it just becomes so big, like that huge elephant, and we can't even think about a solution. When we take our eyes off the problem and look for potential solutions, and we ask ourselves questions like, okay, how can I get out of this? Is there anything around me, any resources I can use to help me get out of this? And when you start asking yourself the questions instead of freaking out, why does this always happen to me? Then you could look for ways to solve the problem.
That's a brilliant story, Chaz. And the way I always look at it, very similar, is it's a challenge and an opportunity.
Yep.
And if you focus, because like you said, if you focus on problems, you focus on your problems and all the problems you have, more problems are just going to show up. That's my philosophy. And if you look at a few challenges and saying, okay, how can I work through this challenge? It's almost gamification in your own life. It's the idea that how am I going to get around this obstacle? How am I going to approach this with a thought process that, like you said, not going to freak out, not going to go to the neighbors. I'm just going to figure this out.
Yeah, that's right.
And so you did. So hats off to you. Silent applause on the pirate broadcast today. So.
Arr.
Arr. Hey, we're having fun. We're having fun, and I just want to give a shout out to some of the people that are in the room right now. Maureen, Jennifer, Celeste, Rachel Beck, just Lori Knudsen.
Hey,
I just love you guys, and I just appreciate the fact that you're here. Angie says she likes your sign, Dream. I can't read all of the writing, but
Dream, play, give,
smile. Yeah. And it has a lot to do with what we're doing. You know, I'm a kindness fan. I'm a fan of kindness, and you know, kindness is cool. Smiles are free, and it's just part of that equation that allows you the opportunity to feel a little calmer in the day. And so, you know, you're in an area where it's can be stressful, like, you know, sales and marketing can be a little bit challenging at times and some obstacles. So how do you approach that philosophy, and how do you add it to your business, Chaz? And how can you share a couple of tips that can allow us to think differently on a Friday with sales and marketing?
Well, just think about the Walmart greeter lady, okay? And this will solve all your problems. So I walk into Walmart one day, and I'm going somewhere with this, so stay with me. I walk into Walmart one day, and I just feel like really, I don't know, crappy. Something was right, a massive headache. I walk in, and the Walmart greeter lady there, she's probably about 75 years old. She's kind of hunched over, kind of looking depressed. And so I stopped thinking about myself, and I started thinking about her. And I have this thing, if something in my mind tells me something like, for her, it's like I need to walk up to her and slap her, give her a high five. I have to follow through. So I'm thinking about this, like, give her a high five. So I walk up to her and I'm like, high five. And she goes from like looking like this to this, and just down depressed to exuberance. And she leaps up, well, about an 1/8-inch vertical leap. Okay. Leaps up, slaps me 5, made my day, made her day. And every time I go back there now, one day I went back to her, she was kind of hunched over talking to another employee, and she saw me and she goes, my day's about to change. So within that story, it's about serving other people.
Yeah.
And so I saw a post from Gary's Vaynerchuk the other day, and he said something about sales isn't scary, selling or selling something you're not I can't remember the exact quote. Selling something you're not passionate about is. Yeah. And I thought, you know, it really need to develop that a little bit more, because if people here listening to this, and Russ, if we close our eyes and we think about a picture of what a salesperson looks like in our mind, it's usually not a very pretty sight. Right? So what I do for myself and my clients, it's not a fluff thing, it's a real thing, because it's those tiny little things that make a big difference, is look to serve, not to sell. And when you look to serve, then it comes natural.
It changes everything, because what you're doing is you're adding value to the equation.
Yes.
And it's the value that is outside the product. It's not the product. It's not the thing. It's not the widget that you're selling. It's the value you're bringing to the table, because selling something that someone doesn't need and attempting to change their mind about something. I mean, the consumers nowadays with social media and the fact that they can check in Facebook and ask people about the product and services, or they can do their research all day long before they even have a conversation with you. So you have to, you know, it's like early days of Apple when they created this Apple Store and they created this environment of possibility.
Right.
You know, it wasn't about the products. If you walk into an Apple Store, there's no products on the shelf. There's a few examples on the tables you can play with and you can interact with. And then there's people to help you. The Genius Bar, you know, is there set up to help you create solutions. So you're not buying products, you're buying the opportunity to solve problems in your own life, right?
Exactly.
Same way. So what I hear you saying is approach the sales process with the value proposition first, and then if the customer or the client or the contact needs your products and services, then it's a no. Then the answer is always yes if all of the questions can be answered yes.
Right. Okay. So you have marketing and you have sales.
They're not the same.
So in this Walmart greeter lady, I mean, she definitely had a need. She was down, and so that was obvious to identify. The great thing about marketing and within LinkedIn, and what we do is we bring sales and marketing together in one process, working congruently.
Mm-hmm.
So when you have a marketing process in place and you truly are looking to serve, it's going to identify the problem. And practically speaking, on LinkedIn, if I connect with someone, the first message I'll send to someone will be something along the lines of, great to have you as a connection. You know, let me know if you have any content you'd like me to share with my followers, without strings.
Right.
Because people have their walls sky high. They don't want to be sold. They've been spammed and they don't want that. And so our job is to lower their walls by serving them, offering them something without strings, so you can have an open discussion. When you have an open discussion, then you can discover what their problems are. Yeah. And then when you understand what their problems are, then you can serve them. And just so everybody knows that's listening to this, serving doesn't mean that you're just some wimp that says, well, you know I need your service. And if I don't get the service, you know, it's probably my business could end in a couple of months, but I need to think about it. You know, that's the time when serving them, you have to call them out of their crap, because there's a time where they're in fear, and a lot of people just repeat the thing over and over and over and over again. It's not you. They haven't been thinking about it because of your conversation. They've been thinking about it for a long time. So if you truly can solve that problem, you need to help them identify, hey, what do you need to continue thinking about it? You've been thinking about it for a year. Your business is going down, 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 down. Let's get to work. As long as you're committed to fixing the problem and committed to the process, I'm 100% confident I can help you. So, I mean, let's do this.
Yeah.
Well, sometimes serving needs to call them out so that you can help them. So serving isn't just like, you know, la-di-da, you know, giving. In order to give somebody something, they have to be able to receive it.
Yeah. Well, it's one of those equations where a lot of people misunderstand what delivering value means. And I think you're talking about the same thing I think about all the time is if someone needs water, you know, they need a water container and they need some water, right? It's like a glass of water.
Right.
You don't bring them broccoli to the table and say, I think you need some broccoli too.
Right.
You know, it's that you have to serve up what people need. And I think more now than any other time in history, we have an opportunity actually to have the conversation about, okay, what are you looking for? You know, I may not be able to serve you. I may not be able to offer assistance to you. However, one of my connections may be able to offer assistance. And I think that's the kind of value that we're going to see more of. It's like, I don't have to sell my stuff today. I just have to build a relationship so somebody that I have a, you know, connection with understands that I'm creating value regardless of the outcome.
Yes.
Because when you attach yourself to the outcome and you refuse to understand the client and the contact's needs, that's when the equation goes south, and then you have a problem, not an opportunity.
You know, that's a great point, Russ. And I was within the past year, I've changed my monthly goals from going to the financial monthly amount, because everybody's doing this and all my mentors and stuff are doing that, to I'm going to serve a certain amount of clients. My goal is to serve a certain amount of clients at the highest level. In that little change in how I think and how I visualize has really changed, not only for me, but for my clients, how we talk to people. Because it's not about making the sale and they're a step in the process so I can make some money. It's more about serving them and providing value, as you mentioned. Yeah. Can I say something? Because you made a really good point about collaborating on LinkedIn and networking.
Yeah.
I've been on LinkedIn for over 10,000 hours. I've had over 1,700 conversations from people I've connected with on LinkedIn. Average of
conversation.
Phone conversation.
Okay. All right.
Okay.
I just want to clarify.
So averaging 40 minutes. And something really cool happened in the process. And anyone out there listening to this, one of the things I want to encourage you with is massive action. When you take massive action, and you want to circle back and talk about failures, Russ, we could talk about that because that's a very important step.
I have some of those.
Yes, they're great. Those, we'll talk about that. Please remind me. If you're taking massive action, you're going to learn through those failures as long as you ask yourself the right questions and you own it. Okay. But with those conversations, 5 things can happen. I realized here, 5 is someone could be a mentor to me. I had someone I connected with, and she said, Chaz, I think you're missing a revenue stream in your business. Her name's Cindy. Because of her, I implemented an idea that adds about $5K additional revenue in my business every month.
Yeah.
Because I had a conversation. And
because you were willing to be open to another idea in a conversation.
Yes. And when you go to serve and go with the idea to listen, and not just listen, but listen to understand, it's amazing what opens up.
That's what develops relationships, Chaz.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the whole point of social media is just a tool, just like a phone, just like a pen, just like a postcard. It's a tool. And the real value and the real benefit of what we're doing here is to operate with the value proposition and connectivity. And I just want to give a shout out to Roger, Vicky, Celeste, some other people joining in. And boom. I love this conversation, Chaz. And I just want to, I don't want to interrupt, but I want to make the point to make sure that we understand that the relationships in the value, because almost all my clients are relationship based connections. So there's huge value there. So anyway.
Yeah, sure. And it's relationships in general on LinkedIn. And I used to sell, compete. And it's just because how I was raised with a bunch of different things, and there were some insecurities from my childhood, until I just had a transformation and a paradigm shift where now I serve and collaborate. Where I used to normally look at, oh man, they got this many views on their posts, and that's how I used to think. I don't, there's still sometimes I have a competitive thing inside of me and say, okay, that's good. That's going to inspire me. But now I'm looking to serve and have those conversations as we talk about to understand. So someone could be a mentor to us. We could be when I have a conversation with someone on LinkedIn, it goes to a phone conversation. I could be a mentor. They could be a mentor to me. If they have a problem or a need, they could become my client. Yeah. Or we could network, or we could collaborate. So I think around those five areas. And when you go into a conversation like that, it's not awkward.
Yeah. When Roger says in the comments, if you go to the relationship first, you'll always win.
Yes.
You'll always win.
Can I give a little strategy and a little tidbit of information for people that are getting on the first phone call with?
That's the whole point of the conversation.
Okay. So everybody, my clients love this. I love this. When you have a first call with someone and you have an idea they may be a potential client, but you don't know how to segue, and you don't want to get into regurgitating a bunch of information that's going to make them sick, because that's what every other salesperson does. Yeah. When you go and obviously do your research on them, okay, you can you find videos and you could learn about their personality, how they speak, and that will give you an idea. And so you can kind of understand and visualize the conversation with them. Do your research. And when you go into the conversation, like let's say I was talking with you, Russ, on the phone, I would call, I said, hi, Russ, Chaz Horn. And, and say, is this still a good time to talk? You say, yes. And then I would say, before we get started, I was looking at your business. I see you just started at a couple months ago. I'm curious, what was the idea and how did that formulate and become a business? I hear a lot of cool stories. I'd like to hear yours. And just let them talk. People love to talk about themselves. And then it will go 2 to 5 minutes like clockwork. There's some exceptions. And then afterward, as it kind of, they wind down, ask them this question. What would you like to accomplish in our brief conversation today? I know we only have 20 minutes and I want to be respectful of our time. You ask that question. There's 4 components. Their agenda, your agenda. Your agenda is going to mimic their agenda. you get an agreement for the duration of time, and then you end with a clear next step. Time, date, who's doing what, when, and you have it in each other's calendar. Never, ever, ever end a conversation without a clear next step. And a clear next step is, call me Monday, or I'll follow up in a week or two. That's not a clear next step. Then you're going to get into the chase mode, and you don't want to do that. So when you ask them, there's usually, it's a little bit of a pattern interrupt because people aren't used to it. What do you mean? What do I want to accomplish? Well, you reached out to me. And they'll usually say something along the lines of, well, I want to know more about your company, how you can help me. And then you could talk about outcomes, not go into all the feature and benefits. My purpose on the intro call is to set up what I call a breakthrough strategy session, which is basically a discovery session to get clarity.
Yeah.
But when you go
to understand at a deeper level what they are challenged with, right?
Right. But does that make sense? Is just asking them what would they like to accomplish, or
it totally makes sense.
What would you like to talk about today?
Yeah.
And then it takes out. Oh, they'll tell you if they have a problem. I mean, the marketing process, our marketing process sets them up so it's a target, so it's a decision maker in the target market. They have a problem they told you about that you can solve.
And it is so simple. It's a slight twist on just asking them good questions can make the difference between,
most definitely,
having a relationship, developing that relationship, and continuing that. Because realistically, with any product or service, it's just like if they need your service and they like working with you, they know, like, and trust you, kind of the same old adage is like, if they don't need it now, they might need it later. And a lot of people fall off because they don't follow up. They talk once, they have one phone call and never come back to it. And I think that's another part of the equation is getting them to release some of the wall that they have in front of, the call initially by asking good questions, right?
Yep, most definitely.
And then
go ahead.
And then deciding, okay, what's the next step? So what's a question that you ask for the next step before you get off the call?
So what I do, and let me define the clear next step, because this is very important.
Yeah.
You do, if you get this clear next step, I mean, it's going to alleviate having to chase. By the way, all the time that you follow up, you diminish yourself in the eyes of your potential client. The more you follow up and chase them, okay?
Yeah.
So what I do is I talk about outcomes, because I'll say things along the lines of, they ask me how I can help. I'll tell them, we have sales, we have marketing, we have a short, medium, and long range strategy on LinkedIn around the 5 pillars. And I said, what I find works best is to schedule a breakthrough strategy session so I can get absolute clarity on your business, where you are right now, where you're looking to go, those obstacles that are preventing you from getting there. And if I can help, I'll lay out a customized process. And so let me know if you like to schedule that. If you don't, and I always give them an out.
Sure.
And there's psychology behind this, but I just want to be real.
Yeah.
A lot of salespeople will just force it. So what I find you have to do is, we need to schedule this meeting. And so let's go ahead. What works better for you? 2 or 3 and next week?
Monday mornings or afternoons.
Right. So I just ask, would you be interested in scheduling that? And they say, in most cases, it's yes. And then to set up the meeting, I say, I'm going to follow up with a podcast that I was involved with, which is the 5 pillars. That's going to help give you clarity on who I am, how I help businesses.
Yeah.
And I have fun with them. You might watch that and think, you know what? I don't even like this Chaz guy.
He bugs.
It's like, it hasn't happened yet, but it can.
He's standing outside in his underwear. What the hell? I want to talk to him for?
That's that underwear dude. I'm not talking to that guy. That guy's weird. So that's how I segue it. And then here's the clear next step. I simply said, so before we get off the phone, I let them know it takes an hour. Okay. So that's an agreement for the duration of the meeting. And then I say what, and so I already have a time in my calendar. And if you guys have a link to it, like Calendly, I use Schedule Once or whatever, you guys should have that. That just makes matters so much easier.
Yeah.
And then we schedule the meeting. I follow up with the podcast and they fill out a brief form. This is very important. They don't think that you have to do all the work. If they don't have skin in the game during the entire process, then they're not going to be fully engaged. They have to be engaged. So I have them fill out a brief form and I let them know that will help guide and direct our conversation.
Well, that's the same thing with the pirate broadcast. You know, you had to fill out some information.
Exactly. That's exactly right.
It's like, okay, you got to show up here. You got to participate. This is a two-way conversation. And I think a lot of people, and what that does too, Chaz, is, and I just want to bring this point home, is you can bring enough value to the first conversation that you're not going to have to chase them. You know, attract and engage is much better than chase and convince, right?
Yep.
As my good friend Mr. R would say.
Attract and engage. I like that.
Yeah. So it's really a process of, okay, and it goes back to relationship. You know, it's like build a bridge here. You know, like Jeffrey Gitomer used to always say, is like, okay, people like to buy, they don't like to be sold. Right.
That's exactly right.
So if you open up the opportunity to have this conversation and offer some more value, so that's the planning stage that they're going to get on after the first call. So you send them a form or some information they need to fill out in order to qualify for this. So you're adding almost a little bit of VIP red rope effect to that. So if they're not filling it out, they're not doing it. They don't get in the club, right?
Well, and you said know, like, and trust, and everyone knows that. The key component that you have to add to know, like, and trust is know, like, trust, and see you as an authority. And that's what the great thing about LinkedIn. And you mentioned earlier about following up. And when you have content going out consistently, and I have people consistently, they said, you know what, Chaz, this isn't the right time. And I'm like, okay. And cool. I drill down on that to find out why, so I can get clarity. Because I think it's important, not only for me, but for them. Then when you have content going out, they see that, and then they circle back. So LinkedIn in and of itself is an amazing platform. You connect with people, and maybe this is the timing's right. They continue to see your content, and then they circle back. Yeah, it's very powerful.
I totally agree with you. And one of the challenges I have is just, and you're in this full time and you've done 10,000 hours. So in your 10,000 plus hours of LinkedIn activity, what are some real world take home tips that people can use to stay organized on their contacts and following up and making sure that those connections stay intact? Because I know that's one challenge that I've heard repeatedly across the community is like, how do you maintain all these connections and know who to go to? And, there's comments and things that I don't always see them in my feed. I have to guess that you don't see them in your feed. And I have a few strategies, and I want to have your thoughts on this.
So this is typically, and this is just, first of all, I have your profile set up. Okay. And I do have the replay of my podcast on my page if someone wants to see that. Okay. It gives you practical ideas that you can apply to your business in your life. So profile set up correctly, because people go to your profile. If within 3 seconds they don't get what you're doing, then they'll move on. They may never come back. Yeah. And so value proposition under your name, like mine is eliminate sales and marketing challenges for small B2B businesses. 30,000 foot level, but they see small B2B businesses. That's who I work with. So they can see, so
they self-qualify immediately at that.
Yes, exactly.
They're in or out of the club.
And speak in outcomes and how you do, make it conversational on your profile. When you connect with people, obviously in your target market, you could do that with Sales Navigator. You could do it not quite as well without Sales Navigator. Make sure you connect with them. And when you connect with them, remember, wait, let me ask you a question. How many people out there have lied to a salesperson? Raise your hand. All of you that have your hands down are lying right now. Okay. So understand this. People have their walls up. And so it's our job to lower their walls. So you get the first objective, which is to have them engage with you. When they engage with you, even if it seems slightly off, that's okay. There's ways to work around that. But you connect, give them something. So I have what I call my appreciation message. Russ, I really appreciate connecting with you on LinkedIn. Let me know if there's any way I can help you. Here's an idea. If you have some content you'd like me to share with my followers, I'd be happy to do that. Or if you like, you could have be part of our invitation only LinkedIn group. So I just offer them that without strings. And then I circle back usually about 7 days later, and I'll ask them an open-ended question. I'll create a survey. And I know there's a certain percentage of those. Remember, target market decision maker, C as an authority, told us about a problem they have that we can solve. And then they'll circle back and tell us about a problem. And then what I do is I use video to schedule meetings, and Beta's Video is a great product. It has a call to action, goes right to your calendar. So you talked about managing. I use HubSpot, and I'm not going to get into the intricacies of CRM.
That's another conversation.
Right. But it's taking them through the conversation of lowering their walls, offering them something, and that works in the law of reciprocity. So when you act, and it has to be about you as a connection to connection. When you connect with someone, forget about the business. Just think, as Russ said, think about the relationship, building that relationship, offer to do something without strings. And that does not include having a free business discovery assessment.
Yeah.
That's not what I'm talking about.
So Chaz, Celeste asked one more time, what video do you use for your video response?
Beta's, VAETAS.
Yeah.
Beta's Video.
And Celeste, just for your information, I've posted this several times, but I use the same thing, same type of solution as Dub Video. So
does that show when people watch the video how long they watch the video and all that? It's powerful. I tell you what, when I end a meeting, I do a recap of the meeting, like after the breakthrough strategy session, if they don't sign up then and there. And if they watch 100% of it, I know that, and if they don't watch it or watch a little bit, it takes a lot of that unknown out of the process.
It helps you qualify where their level of interest is.
Exactly.
So it's a Friday. I know you have a lot to do today, Chaz, and
I didn't have my coffee yet.
And I know that there's a lot of things, a lot of people we could talk about. Connections, correspondence via social media. Phenomenal. Jennifer, thank you so much for being here.
Yes.
Matthew, thank you so much for being here. Vicky, Roger Wakefield, thank you so much for being here. All of these things, Marine, it's just a lot of great information and comments here. I'd love to have you go in on the comments, Chaz, and respond to some of these.
I definitely will.
And then also, I just want to thank everybody, all the gratitude in the world for you being here. The whole point of the Pirate Broadcast is that we can bring interesting people in, doing interesting things, share their gifts, and the opportunity to learn a little bit more about what's going on in our world around us and why we would want to connect with other people, pick up some knowledge, nuggets of knowledge, and learn something on a Friday. And Chaz, it's been phenomenal. Thank you so much for being here. So leave us with one thing. If you had to teach the world one thing, what would it be today?
If I had to teach the world one thing, it would just be, do to others as you would have them do to you. Just think that before you react, think about that. And when you think about that, you'll end up responding. And when you respond, everything will change. I've been in the reaction place in a time in my life, and I learned through a lot of difficulties. And so when you go, we talked about being caring, being kind, just, respond to someone, try to understand them, have empathy. That changes the whole, not just business wise, just in personal life as well.
It's like, let them in traffic. It's like, there's no front of the line. You open a door, return a cart, it's simple things that you can do to enhance somebody else's life. And they may not even know it then. However, it's better if you do. It's always better.
It helps us sleep at night all those little things, like if we cut someone off in traffic or we speed up,
Yeah.
that's a symptom of something deeper that we're having turmoil with in our own life.
Yeah. So thank you so much, Chaz. I really appreciate you and the gifts that you bring to the table.
Yeah. Thank you.
And happy Friday. Everyone, have a wonderful weekend. And I look forward to the next opportunity to have this conversation on Monday. So as you know, kindness is cool. Smiles are free.
Go rock.
And you enjoy the day.
Thank you, Russ.
Take care, Chaz.
All right.